If you're currently looking to purchase a Razer Huntsman with linear opto mechanical switches, then I hope today's video can be helpful for you. Hey, what's up everybody? This is Edward on another episode of Is It Worth Your Money series on Gamers Clinic. In today's video, I'm going to share with you my feedback after using the linear switches version of the Huntsman Elite for the past 6 months and deciding if this keyboard and switch is worth the hefty $200 spent. I'll be going over a few highlight features of this keyboard that I liked and disliked compared to my previous Razer keyboards, and then share my experience from gaming with it every day. So don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you're new here, and let's the details. My first impression of the aesthetics of the Huntsman keyboard was that it looks almost identical to the Black Widow Elite released during 2018, with the exception of additional RGB underglow on the sides of the keyboard and wrist rest, which did sort of confuse me a bit when Razer first announced the Huntsman product line. The design bears a lot of resemblance to my previous Black Widow X Chroma keyboard, which is one of my all-time favorite keyboard, but comes with additional media keys and a multi-function digital dial on the Elite versions. But overall, compared to previous Razer keyboards, this new gen of keyboards have a more clean and sharp look to it, which I personally like a lot. Moving on to the internals of the keyboard, this is where the Huntsman product line totally stands out compared to Razer's other keyboards with their opto mechanical switches. Being designed to be the fastest switch on the market, Razer has equipped their Huntsman keyboard and a few of their new flagship gaming mouse with this new optical switch to eliminate the bounce delay and providing the fastest possible switch actuation with utmost input accuracy to the most competitive gamers. And just in case you're wondering what is debounce delay, in simple terms, a debounce delay is the extra time where a microprocessor will need to process and filter out the extra signals that resulted when metal contacts in traditional mechanical switches strike each other. The filtering process is needed so that only one input command is sent to the computer. The extra signals are the results from the springy parts in mechanical switches. Say, take this ruler as an example. If this is on and this is off, then when I strike the switch, see how many times it jumps between on and off in one strike? Those extra jumps represent the debounce signals that needs to be filtered. So by using optical beams and no contact points to send an input signal, when you press a key, only one input signal is registered, therefore the extra processing of debounce delay is eliminated. In addition to that, these keys will have double the lifespan of Razer's standard mechanical switches. So on paper, these optical switches are supposedly faster and more accurate. And now, with the addition of these red linear switches, which no longer clicks, and have even shorter actuation distance of 1mm as opposed to 1.5mm on the purple switches, they are supposedly even faster than their purple switches. So how does these linear switches compare to the purple optical switches? For me, there's not much difference except that these red linear switches are a lot quieter to use and take slightly less force to actuate, which almost feels like there's no resistance if you're coming from a traditional mechanical switch keyboard. It'll take some time getting used to it, but I'll get into that more later. And when compared to Razer screen mechanical switches like in this Black Widow Chroma V2, which by the way is also an awesome gaming keyboard, these linear switches require about 15 to 20 grams less force and 1mm less travel distance to actuate. They are also a lot quieter and they do feel faster if you're coming from a tactile mechanical switch. And talking about Razer's mechanical switches, if you tried Razer's yellow linear mechanical switches that were introduced with this Black Widow Chroma V2 model, they almost feel identical. So during these 6 months of use, my initial feedback during the first few weeks from using this keyboard was that I regret having purchased the linear switches. Having become quite accustomed to gaming with tactile feedback on Razer screen switches, the reduced actuation distance and force required a new learning and training period to get used to neutral finger positioning without accidentally actuating the key. There were like countless times where I accidentally activated a skill in Overwatch and other games way too early when I was just trying to position my finger on standby to use a skill. The slightest of contact in addition to the weight of my fingers touching the key would actuate the key. On top of that, the RGB strips around the sides of the keyboard were not as bright as expected when compared to the product photo. Even at maximum brightness, it doesn't light up the table like in this photo as I thought it would. Here's how it actually looks like in a dark room. As for the wrist rest, it is comfortable, but because it also has quite some weight to it and is only secured with a few magnets, when you try to reposition the keyboard, the wrist rest is likely to disconnect from the keyboard. So after a few days, I decided not to use it. However, after about 2 months, I finally got used to this new keyboard and was finally able to game properly on it without accidentally activating skills in games. In addition to that, I've also found that these new switches allowed for super fast rapid tapping of keys, which was difficult to do on tactile mechanical switches. The addition of the multifunction digital dial on the top right was also super handy and convenient for quick volume adjustments during sudden loud scenes when gaming late at night. Typing on it was also pleasant, and my words per minute was actually slightly higher when using these linear switches compared to Razer's green mechanical switches. Though, the lack of a USB pass-through port is a bit disappointing, as this keyboard will take up 2 USB ports with the second cable used only to properly power the RGB lights on the undersides of the keyboard and the wrist rests. So, did using these super fast optical switches make me a better gamer? Unfortunately, it didn't. Because the difference of the debounce delay in quality mechanical switches compared to these opto-mechanical switches is so small, I really could not feel the difference or any competitive advantage when gaming with this keyboard. Except that the keys require less travel distance and they actuate faster. But maybe for the elite professional players, it would make a difference. But for an everyday passionate gamer like me, I think it really doesn't make a difference. So yeah, overall, the Razer Huntsman Elite is a nice yet expensive keyboard. And whether or not these red linear switches are worth $200, it depends entirely on you. If you think the reduction of a few millionth of a second would benefit you, then you should get it, as technically it is still Razer's fastest keyboard available right now. But if you don't mind not having the fastest switches, you can also pick up the Black Widow Elite with yellow mechanical switches for a similar experience and save $30. Or any other reputable keyboard equipped with the Cherry MX speed switches. Alright, thank you as always for watching. If you enjoyed today's video, hit that like button as it will help this channel a lot more than you know it. And if you are looking to support the growth of this channel, feel free to check out our new Patreon page with the link in the description below. And I'll see you again in the next video.